Hello everyone, thanks for watching this video. So the new Shopify Editions has been released for Winter 26, and what we want to do in this video is talk through what we can tell so far about what this means for the world of SEO, PPC and product discovery. This one feels like it came out the blue, although in retrospect it happened at roughly the same time last year, so it shouldn't have been that much of a surprise. Maybe I'm not as on the ball with it as I have been previously. One thing that always stands out with this stuff as well is the quality of design, the level of polish that's in the CSS. You know, it's pretty rare to see stuff like this in the wild these days. And the fact that Shopify does this twice a year is pretty impressive. I think that also creates the environment for one of the other points I want to make. You know, a lot of this stuff looks cool, but when you drill down into it, it's either not finished or not released yet. And that creates this environment. When we look at all of this stuff, it's so easy to be overwhelmed by it. But it's always good to take a step back, as I say, have a bit of a reality check and be a bit more considered with everything. And I think a really good example of this in practice is Andy on our team, our senior developer, tried to use Sidekick to build a scheduled flow. And what happened was it gave the wrong instructions, referenced a load of incorrect materials, said that it couldn't be done when it can, and it just didn't work. So I think this kind of sums up a lot of people's experience with not just Sidekick, but these updates. Everything's pretty directionally very, very interesting, but when we get down into that last mile, it's not quite there. So we need to be realistic about where things are today. Okay, so the main thing for us, Sidekick is cool. It's going to allow us to iterate much faster. But that's not really what I kind of want to dwell into too much on this. The main thing for us is the agentic, let me try and find it. Yes, here we go. So everybody's so excited about AI and AI product discovery, and this is the bit that I really want to kind of drill down into. We've known the direction, again, all of this is going for some time now. We had the knowledge base update in the previous Shopify Horizons in the summer. That was really, really interesting, but it felt unfinished. We had a place where we could push custom FAQ content, with the premise that it gets pushed into AI search like ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. But that was kind of pretty much it. There was the opportunity to connect it with an MCP server and then get that kind of direct feedback. So you could create a customer service agent, for example, that sits on top of your store, connect it up with the MCP, and then get the FAQ content pushing in. We spent a lot of time trying to find robust solutions for all of that, and there wasn't really anything that kind of ticked all the boxes for us. And part of that was down to things like the merchandising layer. So, for example, just giving a chatbot free access to your customer service, acting like a sales agent without being able to specify margins and whatever. Yeah, so we never really got anywhere with it. But now it looks like Shopify is kind of doing all of that stuff on top. And the really, really interesting bit for us is, yes, we can connect to knowledge base. We can use FAQ and supporting content to push directly into these feeds in a much more controlled way. But then, let me try and find it. Is it? Okay, maybe it's not visible in this promo. But what Shopify has shown is that we have control over the fields that we can push into these AI feeds. So we've got the base attributes like material, color, size, shape, whatever. And just as a side note, we would always recommend mapping those to the Shopify defaults wherever possible. But there's also the opportunity to add our own custom fields. And this is where all of the stuff that we've been talking around with product discovery and AI gets really, really interesting. So people do not search through AI in the same way. everything's conversational. It's like, I'm looking for some bedding that's good for cooling. I'm going through the menopause, or what my sheets are. I sweat too much in the night, or whatever. So we can, with the opportunity here is that we can add those custom fields in, like mapping that information alongside the base attributes. What has always been unclear with this, particularly when the product spec feed was released by OpenAI, it's kind of how the feed was generated, and would there be any opportunity to add additional fields? And it looks like that's kind of been answered by this update. So yes, we can cover off the base attributes, but we've also got this flexibility. And this is where everything starts, again, to get quite fun. So we've been saying for ages that, to kind of prepare for AI search, we want to look at making your brand portable. How can we get all of your information that's that has your point of differentiation into a format that AI can understand? So at a product level, it's kind of like we've done loads, and collection level, we've done loads of stuff with FAQs, like taking support tickets, breaking them down, trying to find the interesting things that people say, and then turning that into FAQ content and publishing it on products collections. That works really well. But now we've got another path of execution. We can feed that content directly into using this system. So we can use the FAQ content for knowledge base and push it in further. But then we've also got these custom fields where we can get that information in. And it allows us to have that, to get that information that really reflects how people buy. We can execute on it effectively. So all of this becomes a kind of an expansion of the work that we're doing. If you're a Blink agency client, we'll be part of the project is typically the data structure, like the product data structure, where we go in and we add additional attributes. And until now, most of that's been focused on, we have more attributes, we can do more collections, we can do more FAQ content, all of that stuff. But now we've got another channel to take that data. And it's kind of modeled in the right way. So it kind of validates the approach that we've had for some time. Like we kind of knew this was coming, but now again we've got that path of execution, which is great. So much stuff in the SEO space, for typically, it's not knowing what to do; it's kind of how to get it done. And this is an example of that. Excuse me. I think one of the other things that I think is really interesting about this is, again, it cements that the optimization for all of this stuff is operational. So what we do as a team, we'll go through and define the structure for these attributes. Like we know that, so for example, going back to the bedding, we know that people search like by problem solution, like I'm hot when I sleep, etc. So then it's up to us to get that into the product data structure. Is it so we've got thread count or whatever. Is it good for cooling at night? You can do a Boolean, yes or no. You can add supporting information. We work on getting that structure in place. So that's already kind of modeled out. But then it's like, it's an operational challenge to keep those populated. We can define the structure, but we're not the best people to do that stuff. So then that kind of sits with merchandising teams. And I think one of the problems that we've had historically with people that do merchandising in larger organizations is there's a real disconnect between like making sure something's properly populated and the output. And I think what we're trying to do is give do much more education about why this matters. Like the quality of the information that you put out. Now you can directly see how much it impacts discovery. I mean, it always has, like for SEO PPC purposes, but this is like potentially another way that we can educate people around that. And I think part of this also comes down to the idea that product data governance on Shopify is really hard. For people that are doing direct inputs into Shopify, you don't have required fields. So that does create a lot of data quality issues. And I know this is something that we're working on internally to, for clients that are not using PIMs that have required fields to create some processes around this. Okay, so again, like for our clients, I think that it's worth saying that this is kind of a validation again of what we've been expecting. This will require some adjustments to the roadmap as it's released, because obviously in the UK it's not released there. It's well, I don't think it's anywhere yet. It'll be likely launched in the US and then the UK. But it is very much a refinement. It's not going to require a particular rescoping on any of our projects, and we're pretty excited about the whole thing. There's a bunch of other things in here, like cloning collections and things that were announced previously. Like the product network stuff looks quite interesting. So this is the ability to show products from other stores. But I've spoken to a few stores that are using this in the US as part of the trial, and the feedback's been really good. So there's lots of flexibility about where you can have these products show, whether it's just on the thank you page, you can have them as products or at product or collection level as related items. You can have a ban list if you don't want your competitors showing. So yeah, it seems like the feedback's pretty good on that. Okay, so yeah, I think that kind of sums up my thoughts on this so far. There's probably going to be more as we dive deeper into it as per usual. But thank you for watching. And if you are a Blink client, again, this is being covered by our existing work. If you're not, hopefully this gives you some insight in the direction things are going and how you can start to structure your data to take advantage of this kind of new form of product discovery. And if anybody ever wants to chat about this in more detail, please feel free to drop me a message. Brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye.